she goes, the cops are on their way, and I'm going to tell the world what you've done. She says, you're such a lying, abusive piece of shit. You've done this over and over and over again. So many women have said how fucking abusive you are. So many.
You know, sometimes the biggest bombshell isn't some secret document. It's something that happens right out in the open. In this case, it's a 2.5-hour live stream. And today, we're going to put that stream under the microscope, break it down piece by piece, and really deconstruct what it means to control a narrative. So picture this. This is where it all kicks off. He's just 2 days out of jail after being arrested for violating bond conditions. And after his ex-girlfriend, Jenna Miscavige, threatens to file a police report, Aaron fears the police will soon be knocking at his door again. And what does he do? He says he will not answer the door. Instead, he picks up his phone and starts live streaming.
I can hear the police knocking on my door, by the way. I'm not going to end this video. I'm not going to be answering the door.
That single choice right there tells you everything. The priority wasn't dealing with the police. It was getting his story out first. Okay, let's get some context here. The situation involves Aaron Smith-Levin, a pretty big content creator, and his then-girlfriend, Jenna Miscavige. Now, look at these numbers. This isn't just about who speaks first. It's about who has the bigger microphone. With an audience more than 5 times the size of hers. He didn't just get a head start in the race to the narrative. He was basically driving a sports car while she was on foot.
I said, there's no reason for you to ever do anything for me ever again. I'm about to go live and tell everyone what's been happening for the last 18 months. You've given me no choice, but I have to do it for my own protection. I'll talk about everything that happened with Lindsay and everything.
We want to be super clear about what we're doing here. This isn't about us playing judge or jury. We're not here to decide guilt or innocence. Our goal is much more specific. We are going to identify and document a pattern of rhetorical tactics using his own words from his own live stream. Everything we look at is time-stamped. This isn't about opinion. It's about provable facts. So, the first and maybe the most powerful tool in the whole playbook is something called DARVO. Deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. It's a classic move. You flip the entire script. The accused becomes the victim, and the actual victim gets painted as the aggressor. Let's see exactly how that works. And the very first counter-accusation he makes is a serious one, that Jenna threatened self-harm to trap him in the relationship. Now, this wasn't just some off-the-cuff remark. It was a central theme. So, how many times do you think he brought it up during the stream? 7. He repeated that specific claim 7 separate times. And check out the timing on this quote. It comes just 42 seconds into the live stream. 42 seconds before he gets into almost any other detail. This is the foundation he builds. He's framing himself as a hostage in the relationship from the get-go.
This is not a video I expected to be doing today, but I have to be honest with you. I knew I would be doing this video eventually, because the ugly truth of the matter is that over the last 12 months, every time I have attempted to end my relationship with Jenna Miscavige, she has forced me to continue the relationship by threatening to harm herself or, to use her own words, ruin my life until I want to harm myself.
This is his opening argument to the world. But the claim doesn't just get repeated, it gets escalated here. He's not just talking to his audience, he's directing the accusation at her ex-husband, Dallas. See what that does? It takes a private claim and turns it into a public warning about her fitness as a mother. It's a calculated move to isolate and discredit her.
I called Dallas and I said, Dallas, listen. I think Jenna is a threat to herself, and I'm telling you because she's the mother of your children. And I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I didn't tell you what was happening. And I said, by the way, I don't know what you've heard, but I tried to break up with Jenna a dozen times, and she won't let me, okay? Even when I've said to Jenna, you know, Jenna, the truth is, the only reason we're still together is because you threatened to hurt yourself or make me want to hurt myself when we break up. Time and time again in this relationship, Jenna has threatened to publicly destroy me until I want to hurt myself. if I do not continue in a relationship with her. She said, "You make me want to die." She said that to me this morning.
And the reversal doesn't stop there. Now, remember, he's afraid Jenna will call the police on him for domestic violence. But throughout the stream, he flips that and claims that he was the one being physically abused. And he made that claim 9 different times. And look at the scale of this counter-accusation. It's not just, "we had one fight." No, he paints this picture of long-term, systematic abuse. What this does is it reframes the last incident, making it seem like just a tiny piece of a much larger story where he is the real victim.
And in many of these incidences, Jenna gets physically abusive with me. And by the way, every one of my friends who are close to me will vouch for everything I have to say in this video. Everything. The physical abuse, the threats, the manipulation, the violence. And I got up to leave, and she stood up, and she pushed me. And when she pushed me, I made a beeline right for the door. Just a little motel room. Made a beeline right for the door. I got to the door, she was screaming like a banshee and grabbing my arm, trying to keep me from leaving. Guys, Jenna has physically abused me in Clearwater, in Minnesota, in Miami, and in Hawaii. Every one of our friends who was in Hawaii with us got to see firsthand with their own eyeballs in real life the toxic and abusive nature of Jenna. By the way, what I was looking at earlier was I just noticed the scratch marks on my wrist from when I was trying to leave the hotel room and she was trying to keep me from leaving.
All right, the next phase of the playbook moves past just flipping the story. This is where we get into distortion and gaslighting. The goal here is not just to deny what the other person is saying, but to actually make them, and you, the audience, start to doubt what's real.
Jenna and I had a mild disagreement, argument, upset that day that just went on the entire damn day. Jenna has always said this to me. "You in Hawaii, you threw me across the room." I don't know what she's talking about. I feel like she's talking about it maybe when we were in the bedroom. And so Jenna will go from loving to trying to destroy in minutes and over nothing. I know you guys think, "Aaron, you're just minimizing." I am not.
Here, you can just feel the sarcasm dripping off the words. This is a really powerful tool for minimization. He takes her claims of abuse and reduces them to something as trivial as hanging up the phone. It's a way of mocking her experience, basically asking the audience, "Can you believe this is what she's so upset about?" It makes her sound totally unreasonable.
Now, of course, the next time she was mad at me, she told me how much she regretted deleting those videos because it just gave me license to treat her however I wanted to treat her. Now, treating her however I wanted to treat her was being an absolutely amazing, loving, supporting boyfriend who spent hours and hours and hours on the phone with her every single day, texted her first thing every single morning, responded to all of her texts in a timely manner. But sometimes I sounded a little annoyed at her, and that would lead to an argument which would last for hours, and then eventually I would hang up the phone because she refused. That's the horrific abuse that I've subjected Jenna Miscavige to in this relationship. Hanging up the phone after hours of arguing. Yeah, Jenna was pregnant a few months ago. And Jenna does not want children, nor do I. And yeah, Jenna was pregnant. That happened.
This is a big one. Playing armchair psychologist. He has no clinical credentials, but throughout the stream, he's throwing around these diagnoses. By using words like pathological, he's trying to reframe her accusations. They're not valid complaints. See, they're just symptoms of her mental instability. And if she's unstable, you can't trust her story, right?
That's Jenna's definition of abandonment, by the way. Saying, "We've already been fighting for 4 hours and I'm not going to do it anymore. If you're not going to get off the phone, I'm going to have no choice but to hang up on you." And then I hang up the phone. That's abandonment. By the way, that's abandonment. That's also Jenna's definition of abuse. The rage. She says it feels like 100 rats trying to crawl out of her body through her skin. She has a fear of abandonment. And those are not just like casual words. She has a pathological fear of abandonment that causes her to process and filter almost literally everything, especially in the context of a relationship. You're an abusive, narcissistic, lying, cheating sociopath who's just been using me this entire time, and I'm going to tell the world what you've done. She can go from one to the other in 10 fucking minutes. I know Jenna can't control herself. What I mean is, Jenna's fear of abandonment is tied to a pathological rage problem. Not an anger problem. A rage problem. A seething rage accompanied by a desire and need to destroy and harm Jenna loses emotional control of herself.
It's just this constant barrage of denial, reversal, and distortion. It's a lot of noise. But if you listen really, really closely, buried deep inside all of that, there's something else. Something that sounds a whole lot like a confession. Let's just ask the question head on. After all that deflection, after all the counter accusations, did he ever actually describe what he did that day? Well, the answer is yes. And it is, without a doubt, one of the most revealing moments of the entire live stream. There it is. Let's just let that sink in for a second. I grabbed her wrists while she violently tried to get away. I held her. That's not a denial. That is a direct description of physically restraining someone against their will. He's admitting he held a person who was, in his own words, trying to get away from him.
But I never held Jenna down. I grabbed, she was destroying the kitchen. I'm worried she's going for the knives. She's small. I can easily grab her. So I grabbed her wrists while she violently tried to get away. I held her. I said, "You're going outside or I'm calling the police. You're not going to keep destroying my kitchen."
But here's the real magic trick. Listen to what he says. Immediately after that emission, he adds this little phrase, "as anyone else would do." And just like that, he tries to normalize it. He reframes the entire action. It's not aggression anymore. It's just a reasonable, totally normal response that anyone would have. And that right there is the absolute key to this tactic. It's brilliant in a way. You hide the truth in plain sight. You don't say, "I didn't do it." You say, "I did it, and it was the normal thing to do." You make it seem so common that people in the audience start to nod along and think, "Yeah, maybe I would do that too." It's incredibly manipulative. Okay, so let's pull back for a second. We've been looking at individual quotes, but the real power of this whole strategy isn't in anyone's statement. It's in the constant, relentless repetition. So, let's wrap this up by looking at the final score. I mean, the numbers really do speak for themselves, don't they? 7 times he accused her of weaponizing self-harm. 9 times he flipped the script on who was the victim of violence. We counted at least 12 clear instances of gaslighting or reality distortion. And 4 times he used that uncredentialed, pseudo-clinical language to pathologize her. It's the whole playbook laid out in black and white. And that's really the bottom line here. Look, anyone can misspeak once in an emotional moment, maybe twice. But when you see the same tactics deployed 7 times, 9 times, 12 times over the course of a single broadcast, you're not just watching someone tell their side of the story anymore. You are watching someone execute a very deliberate playbook. And that's the big question this whole thing leaves us with, right? It's a question that goes way beyond this one situation. At what point does someone telling their story cross the line into executing a conscious strategy to control the narrative? Once you learn to spot these patterns, you can start to answer that question for yourself.
Her destroying my kitchen, not a crime. Me grabbing her and holding her so she can't keep doing it and telling her she has to go outside or I'm going to call the police, that's a crime.